Time now is 12:01 on this outstandingly beautiful Thursday afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm meteorologist Erin Ashley. We are rinsing and repeating with how the days in the afternoons have played out this work week. I mean, several days in the 70s. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we actually hit the 80s in some of our communities south of Cincinnati towards Kentucky. It's just something that will all come to a close eventually, right? It's your typical March pattern in which you got several days of warm temperatures, and then we have to come down eventually from those relatively warm temperatures. So something that we're going to be watching is that cool down and the storms that are going to be allowing for that cool down. So if you have any questions about the setup for this weekend, we're going to go ahead and dive into the weekend actually, because I really think that is what most of our focus is going to be on, especially after several days in the 70s. Tomorrow is going to be very similar feeling and looking, but then by Saturday and really early Saturday, things are going to get a little bit dicey. So the severe storm risk, this is issued by the Storm Prediction Center, but it matches our forecast as well, in which Friday night, really late Friday night, we're saying it's more of an overnight event at this point. We are watching for a weakening line of strong thunderstorms, and strong they will be. I mean, look at this, St. Louis kind of in the bullseye of this moderate risk of severe storms. And yeah, out there, they're seeing a greater likelihood of perhaps those tornadoes and everything of that nature, even some hail too. So here locally for your Friday, late Friday, overnight, however you want to describe it, it's going to be raining. It's going to be rather windy as well, but perhaps it will not be as windy, as rainy as those out west are going to experience. There's still a chance that those out towards Decatur County, closer to Indianapolis and Bloomington, you could see a stray strong wind gust, severe wind gust even, and even hail. There are possibilities in this as well. You just can't rule it out. Of course, it's something that we're going to be watching is how that first round is going to affect the second round, which that second round is here locally really dependent on how that first round is going to play out. So let's get into your severe storm risk for Saturday, which looks like this. It kind of looks similar to the original one, except the bullseye is much farther south. And that's just because all the atmosphere towards St. Louis, even south of Chicago, is already kind of worked over. Here locally, because we have that first round of showers and storms weakening as it approaches our neck of the woods, we're still watching for Saturday evenings instability and the ingredients kind of all coming together to produce somewhat strong and even severe weather as well. So here's the severe storm risk. All of the tri-state is underneath that slight risk, which on an impact scale of 1 to 5, that's at a 2. We have seen this time and time again. This slight risk is very common, but gusty winds and heavy downpours, those are going to be our two main concerns moving forward. In fact, depending on how that first round behaves, we could actually not see any watches or warnings here locally, because if that first round overperforms, meaning that it brings with it heavy rain, it brings with it those thunderstorms, it zaps the power in the atmosphere for this second round to work with. So timing also kind of helps with this, because we have that first round delayed just a little bit, or we've seen the trend kind of leaning towards that. Your forecast for Saturday evening would also delay, and so we're not getting it after the highs in the 70s. We're getting it a little bit after that. It's more delayed. So right now the timing is working in our favor, so it's a very conditional threat for severe storms here in the tri-state area, but it's still there nevertheless. And so as far as the storm risk goes, we are going to show you the this graphic I made here. I think this does a great job showing that heavy rain and gusty winds are going to be the more moderate, maybe even the higher impact here. But hail and tornadoes, those are on the table as well. Really just depends. I know you hate it when I hear meteorologists say it really just depends, but it truly does, because some of the models, they're not really agreeing on the timing of that first round or the intensity of that first round. So that would, of course, impact how that same model treats that second round. So I've seen it several ways. I've seen it the first round, we get or the model suggests that we're going to get some gusty winds, heavy rains, some thunderstorms, and then the second round kind of looks the same. They kind of balance each other out. But I've also seen that first round kind of underperforming, in which that second round will be a little bit more intense. So it really just depends, and it really does just depend on how the models behave over the next 48 hours, the computer models. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the one that I think does a really great job with the timing, the trends that we've been noticing over the last 24 hours. And so let me back this up, because I want to show you when this first round actually arrives, which is really late overnight into Friday. So I brought you to 5 o'clock here on Friday. I would not be fooled by the green you see there over Cincinnati. I don't think it's going to rain until well after the sun sets. Here's 5 o'clock on our model. This is when we expect those showers to start here. From west to east, they will push through the area. I expect some dry time by the early afternoon on Saturday. I know we've got that St. Patrick's Day parade. I think it really, I mean, hopefully the models are correct in this, but those showers, or the more heavy showers, will take a pause before this second round surges in from the south. And it does so pretty quickly. I mean, you saw it just a second ago. This model suggests that between 11 and 12 to 1, those heavy showers stop. We'll get some dry time, but at the same time, down towards Maysville and even farther south of our viewing area in Kentucky, that's when the deeper greens arrive. That's when the yellows arrive. And so now I've brought you into 7 o'clock. It's not a huge window for the temperatures to warm up. It's not enough time, or not a lot of time, for the atmosphere to destabilize again, which is good. We want it to be stable heading into these showers and storms Saturday evening, because obviously that will limit any severe potential. But at the same time, it's still going to rain, and it's going to rain a lot as we head overnight into your Sunday. Because we're coming off a really, I'm going to go back to me, because we're coming back to a rainy pattern off a really dry stretch of weather. I mean, here in the Queen City, we haven't seen rain in almost a week, and by Saturday, it will have been a week. I would not be, I mean, I'm not ruling out localized flooding, but flooding's not a huge concern. I'm going to show you the rainfall totals in here just a second. I just know that's a lot on people's minds, especially in light of recent events. I don't think we're really going to have to worry about that too much, except for in the localized conditions. So let's get into your Sunday. Sunday appears more on the dry side. It starts off rainy though. We've got to get through your Sunday, and it will feel a whole lot better there for St. Patrick's Day, and look a whole lot better as well. You can't rule that out. That's just the trend. The trend is our friend there. So early Sunday, those showers pushing out of the area, and then by about the afternoon, we could very well see more sunshine than not, and most certainly there by St. Patrick's Day. And temperatures, while they typically and normally will cool down after a big rain event like the one we're tracking for Saturday, it's not going to be a dramatic cool down. I say we're mostly looking at seasonable cool down. Back to the 50s we go into St. Patrick's Day. Let's go ahead and check, see if we have any questions about the forecast. We don't have any questions. We do have Andrew saying hello. Hi, Andrew. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. Okay, so back to those rainfall totals. 2 inches of rain, higherly local totals are possible, but you'll notice there's kind of a nose in which we have a surplus or a little bit more than 2 inches of rain possible. That's why we're saying give or take. I'd say the heaviest rain is happening well south of our area entirely. We're getting the northern edge of that heavy batch of rain. So find your spot, an inch on our very western and eastern corners in Vanceburg as well as Connorsville, whereas here in Cincinnati, south towards Dry Ridge in Warsaw and Mount Sterling, 2.5 inches of rain possible. Again, localized flooding and the clogged storm drains could have an issue with rainfall like this, but at the same time, it's not to compare to what we had a few weeks ago, that really big flooding event down towards Kentucky. We're not seeing that with this, at least locally, especially since the river levels are very low after that dry spell. So how about beyond this? Beyond this, well, we start to feel a little bit better, but we also start to dry out as well. So let's look at the temperature trend. So I brought you to Saturday, in which we're going to hit the 70s once again. Look at the instability, or I should say the heat, which is instability in meteorology terms. 72 degrees there for the afternoon. That's our way of seeing and saying we could see some of these thunderstorms, strong to severe, fire off with temperatures such as 72 degrees. So that's our forecast high there. But Sunday, upper 50s, and then Monday, St. Patrick's Day, in the middle 50s. But you'll notice right out to our west, already in the 70s for St. Louis, and that we're going to see that in the 7-day forecast as well. Here's your Tuesday, mid 60s, and then there's the 70s. But you see what I see here? Yeah, right there, another storm system that we're going to be watching very, very carefully. So that, I mean, that's well over a week from now. No, it's a little less than a week from now. You'll see it on the 7-day, but could very well be seeing a little bit more storms there for Thursday of next week, which let's go ahead and jump right into that 7-day forecast, which does feature a little bit of everything now that we've gotten through most of those 70-degree days. We got 3 more of them. One of them is today, a very isolated chance of showers and storms south towards Maysville and Dry Ridge. Now tomorrow, mostly sunny. I wouldn't be surprised if many counties, especially in Kentucky, break into the 80s. Most of us are in the 70s. Now Saturday, that first alert weather day due to thunderstorms that are conditionally going to be severe, but wind gusts and heavy downpours outside of the thunderstorms will be quite impactful to any plans regardless. So Sunday, just a few showers in the morning, and then we're getting breezy and cooler in the afternoon in the mid 50s. But Monday, St. Patrick's Day, after a cold start, can't forget about that 33 degrees there. We're looking at a really nice, beautiful spring-like afternoon with mostly sunny skies. And then you'll notice by Wednesday, clouds increase, temperatures are back in the 70s, and we're already tracking our next weather maker. It's a very spring-like pattern ahead, but at the same time, nothing extreme, at least here locally. Okay, and you're tuning in. So how bad will the storms be? A meteorologist I follow on Facebook said they could be very bad in the Cincinnati area. Yeah, so here's the thing about how Saturday is going to play out. Like I've mentioned, and like we've mentioned, it's a conditional setup. If that first round lingers, it kind of delays a little bit, it will zap the power available for that second round to work with. And so if we have heavier rain in the morning, if we already get some of the thunderstorms feeding off of that instability, that's good because it limits the power of the second round. But if that first round rapidly weakens as it approaches the Cincinnati area to the point where we hardly get any rumbles of thunder, that's going to be a concern of ours, because that means above our heads, there's enough instability to fire off some severe weather for Saturday evening. So it depends on how that first round is going to behave. I will say, as we see these rounds getting closer and closer together, that limits just how much time there is between rounds, and that's good. Unless you want severe weather, then I mean, maybe not so great for you. Okay, so we're asking how bad it is for parts of Indiana. So parts of Indiana, we're going to go ahead and show you the map. It depends on the day. So Indiana, you have this beautiful gradient, if you will. I'm going to keep it right about there for you guys. So here's Indiana. If you're southwest, moderate risk, or enhanced risk, I'm sorry. along the middle and including Indianapolis and parts of our western viewing area, a slight risk, and then marginal risk for severe weather. That's going to be with the first round of storms, which is arriving really late overnight Friday. It's weakening as it approaches our neck of the woods, but of course, if it doesn't weaken a ton, we could very well see those severe storms stretch into especially our western counties. Now, if you're asking about Saturday, the second round, here's a zoomed in look towards Indiana as well. If you're north and west, really just general risk of thunderstorms there, but then a marginal to slight risk of severe weather. And again, all modes of severe weather are possible with this. We're just really leaning, or at least really stressing that heavy winds and heavy downpours are the most likely outcomes of this setup, considering all different outcomes that are still possible. Okay, what's the forecast for the lunar eclipse tonight? Yeah, I talk so much about how Saturday is going to play out. We can't forget about the stellar, spectacular sight that is going to be that lunar eclipse. I'll talk about when, or exactly the timing of that lunar eclipse here in just a second. Here's how tonight's going to play out. Partly cloudy skies and, yeah, mild in the upper 40s. Great for viewing. I mean, not the best, because we want to have clear skies to see that reddish hue of the moon, but partly cloudy will take it, at least it's not overcast. So this is happening, the totality portion of this starts just before 2:30 and it ends around 3:30 that morning. So if you're up bright and early, like me, like many of us here, you will be joined by, oh, I'm hiding it, a little bit. A beautiful look there to the moon. That's that total lunar eclipse. That is the sun's light passing through the Earth's atmosphere on its way to the moon, and then that light that is filtered by the atmosphere. Certain parts of the visible color spectrum are actually filtered out, and so that's why it appears reddish orange, because those are the colors that are not filtered out. Really cool and really fun. Hopefully you guys are able to get out and see it, because while lunar eclipses in and of themselves are fairly common, total lunar eclipses are very unique looking, and they're not as common as partial lunar eclipses. In order to get the reddish hue, you have to have a total lunar eclipse. So send us your photos. That's at fox19.com. I'm going to go ahead and sign off of here. I'm not seeing any other questions about how our first alert weather day is going to play out. So definitely stay weather aware. Have that Fox 19 First Alert Weather app. Steve Horstmeyer is going to be in the building later on this evening, and he and I together are going to put together a little bit more of a refined look to this forecast, because we're getting closer and closer to that active weather day, and we want to make sure that you are all prepared. But for now, signing off. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon, and have a great rest of your Thursday.